What's up YouTube? Papa Snorlax here. This week I tied for third at locals with Turn A Grandpa. I'll say this right away, the deck actually ran really well. I only lost the first match of the day, and after that the deck felt a lot smoother than I expected. Before we get into matches, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you don't miss future Gundam Roulettes, deck profiles, and Gundam TCG content. So the first deck I played against was Wing Gundam. Early on, this game felt heavily in my favor. I was able to get them down to 2 shields with the linked Turn A Gundam on my field. The issue was that I kept running into blockers, which made the game go longer than I wanted. On the following turn, my opponent linked Death Scythe, gained first strike, and was able to take out my Turn A. Then the next turn, they dropped Wing 0 and cleared my board. I tried to make a comeback by dropping 2 more units and pushing to finish the game, but they followed up with a second Wing 0, and at that point, it was pretty much over. So for round 2, I got the bye, so I didn't get to play a match during that round. But for round 3, I played against Blurple. This game went much better for me. I had a really strong opening hand. While it seemed like my opponent didn't have the best start, I was able to push damage quickly and break through all their shields before they could really start pinging my units or slowing me down. After the official rounds, I played a few extra matches to see how the deck would perform against some of the other players. The next deck I played against was Red White Neo Zeong. They had a good amount of blockers, but I was able to get repair onto Turn A. From there, Turn A was able to run over cards like Flat and Elfrith while continuing to heal thanks to Grandpa Gundam's repair being in the trash. Once that engine started going, I was able to close out the game. After that, I played against the second place deck, which was Red Green Neo Zeon. This was a really intense match. We were both trying to rush each other down, and they were able to get some Kshatriyas online. However, I was able to swing back with Turn A Gundam and get suppression off by pulling from Unicorn Gundam Awakened in the trash. It came down to the final turn, and I was able to find the link I needed to swing for game. The last deck I played against was Blue-White Epion Control. This was another solid match. They were able to keep pace with me using blockers, but once I got Unicorn Gundam Awakened into the trash, Turn A really started putting in work. I was able to hit with suppression the one turn, and then repair on the next turn, and I ended the game with 2 Turn A's and a Kapul swinging for game. Overall, I'd say this deck is pretty solid. The only card I'm really thinking about changing is the Turn 6 Grandpa Gundam. I only saw it in one game, but to be fair, it did help me win that game by bouncing Amuro back to my hand so I could rest a second blocker. That being said, I really enjoyed Turn A, and now I kind of want to see what else it can do in other builds moving forward. So with that, let's get into what we all came to see and find out if I'll be building another Turn A variant this week. Alright, here we go. Gundam Roulette! Alright, we're doing green-white this week. Let's dive in. Alright, this week I'll be running a green-white build I'm calling Turn A Dynamis. So starting off with our Turn 2 units, we're running 4 Borjarnen and 2 Zaku 2s as our standard 2-2 bodies. Alongside those, we're also running 4 of our EX base breakers Zaku 2s. This will help keep the pressure on the shields early and force our opponent to respond. Moving into Turn 3, we have 3 Kapul. Kapul helps us sift through the deck while also getting cards into the trash, which is exactly where we want certain effects to be for Turn A later on. For Turn 4, we're running 3 copies of Little Turn A Gundam. This card can buff itself up to 5 AP, letting it break through average bases or trade into tougher enemy units. We're also running 2 Grams Union Flag Custom, mainly to get high maneuver into the trash for our bigger Turn A plays. Rounding out our Turn 4 units, we have 4 copies of the starter deck Dynamis. This gives us another strong mid-game body that links with the lock-on and helps pick off the enemy units that are becoming a problem. Now for Turn 5, we get into the main mustachioed man himself, Turn A Mario. Yahoo! Have 4 copies. This is the one main centerpiece of the deck, giving us access to a lot of flexible plays depending on what we have available in the trash. Alongside Turn A, we're also running 3 copies of Breach Dynamis, giving the deck even more pressure and another solid target for lock-on, as well as providing Breach for Turn A Gundam. Finishing off the units, we're running 2 copies of level 7 Unicorn Gundam Awakened. This helps us get suppression into the trash while also giving us a strong late game boss unit when the game starts going longer. For pilots, we're running 4 Lock-On Stratos for our 7 copies of Dynamis, and then 4 Laron Sihak for our 7 copies of Turn A, as well as Kapul. For commands, we're running 4 Overflowing Affection for draw power and to help get the right cards into the trash. We're also running 3 Unforeseen Incident to help keep our units alive a little longer throughout the game. Last but not least, we're running 4 Will Gem. This base lets us get more value out of the 1 cost abilities from Turn A and Kapul, as it heals the base and keeps our shield safe. So that's Turn A Dynamis. I'll be playtesting this deck more throughout the week, and I'll provide an update Friday if I do make changes. For this week, there was 3 other decks I actually considered running, but this one ended up being the one that appealed to me the most overall. On Wednesday, I'll showcase those other 3 decks and dive into my thought process behind each one. With that, I'm Papa Snorlax, and thanks for watching.